everyone, and welcome to another Game Legend. This time we'll be reviewing Misfortune.gb. Misfortune is an unrecognized game for the original Game Boy. To those who know of it and have played it, it is considered one of the scariest video games ever made. The game revolves around what appears to be a little boy who meets a malevolent being and a strange gothic being. The being never gives its name, but is heavily implied that it is the devil. Upon meeting the creature, a dialogue box with the text, "I exist within the very fabric of reality. Do you wish to challenge me?" This is followed by a yes or no choice. Should the player choose yes, the being replies, "Then let's begin." The player is then transported to a series of maze-like rooms, each filled with pit drops, locked doors, keys, and traps. The objective for the player is to survive each room by either reaching the stairs to the next level or solving some kind of puzzle. This can be a riddle or something else, such as picking the correct door. A good example is the level where 4 small cabins are shown on the screen, and the dialogue box appears that reads, "Choose wrong and misfortune will befall on your loved ones." Are you ready to play? Should the player make a mistake and choose a wrong exit, etc., the screen will cut to black for a second before showing a screen of higher evolution of the demon with a dialogue box underneath that reads, "I am God here," with blood-style writing, possibly being the inspiration for creepypastas such as the well-known Sonic.exe. Some people who played this game and lost suddenly began to suffer from depression, and there were several cases in which people committed suicide after losing the game. Other people became jittery in their everyday life, and some became physically sick. However, if they were able to complete the challenges, they seemed to continue their everyday life, no change. Also, if a player was to make a mistake in the game that would lead to a game over, but the player quickly turned the Game Boy off, they would suffer no repercussions. It appeared to be viewing the game over screen was responsible. This led the few people who know of the game to wonder why exactly losing the game would cause such drastic effects. The answer was the music. The music in this game is generally mature. Although being limited to the 8-bit Game Boy sound bank, the music was very dark and disturbing at best. However, the "I am God here" game over screen had been especially disturbing, disharmonic music that accompanied it, and is believed that this was the cause of misfortune to the player. It consisted of deep, buzzy tones and off-key melody, and the general sound of music was damaging to the brainwave patterns. Many people who have heard of this game but never actually played it have asked how they can get their hands on a copy and why it has never been heard of, at least for the most part. It appears that searching for the game online has come up short, and all that exists are some recording of the game music and a few screenshots. Not even a copy of the ROM seems to be available via various ROM sites. Well, if you're wondering where you can get a copy, if you're a hardcore Game Boy cartridge or even a ROM collector, chances are you already have it. If you've gone through your collection of classic Game Boy cartridges and are certain it isn't there, I advise looking again. Not at the cartridges, but inside them. Misfortune was never released on its own cartridge, and some people noticed that many sprites and textures in Misfortune were rehashed from other games with similar play style. A few people who played on the Game Boy ROMS noticed something about certain games that didn't make sense. In some games, mainly Zelda or Pokemon, people discovered glitches, and sometimes a certain sequence of events and choices warped them to misfortune. Unfortunately, there is very little information on this on the internet, possibly due to the small minority of people who actually know of the game, probably due to how hard it is to find. However, don't be disheartened by that. There may not be much on the game, but there's something if you dig deep enough. Don't expect to find information at the top of your searches. One thing that does seem certain, however, is that it doesn't appear to be within ROMs as well as cartridges. It is uncertain how many Game Boys actually contain Misfortune, but some of the known games listed below: Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, Pokemon Red, Spud's Adventure, Pucci Carrot, and Atelier Marie. The only question this leaves is why Misfortune is hidden, and not only hidden, but in so many different games which seem to have no connection with each other. A A few rumors have been floating around that due to the game's disturbing nature and its curse to harm people who lose at it, it was never allowed to be released, and perhaps Nintendo hid it inside other titles for that reason. But this seems extremely unlikely due to Nintendo's strict rules on what is acceptable and what isn't. And it's impossible that they would allow a game like this to be incorporated into their popular titles in secret. Although it was never made clear how to access this game or why it's there, it's still considered the scariest game ever made by the few people in the world that have discovered it. Well, I like this creepypasta, and I really like that it recognizes itself, such as where it goes, Nintendo would never have allowed this to be in their games and such, because it recognizes what makes a story unrealistic, because Nintendo wouldn't have allowed this. But it just, I enjoyed it. I think it's not even as much of a creepypasta as it is, I don't know how to say it, like, interesting, almost uneasy kind of feeling. And I really enjoyed it. So, is it realistic? No, it's not. For one, the sound waves, they can't do that. They can't cause permanent damage to your brain, and that just won't happen. And Nintendo, they would not have allowed this to happen ever. And most importantly, ROM hackers and such who have been just gone through these kinds of games codes time after time after time would have eventually found this, if not extremely soon. So, it's not realistic, but it's a good creepypasta. Link will be in the description down below. And it's just a legend. Right? A game legend.